Commanders hire Dan Quinn to match with their new general manager, Adam Peters, to lead this franchise into the future.
The way that we live is not for everybody, okay? It's not, all right? Because we're going to run and put our bodies on people in a violent manner.
Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So I'm invigorated, man. I'm rejuvenated as a fan. Just seeing the team re-energized, right? I knew this extra, few days off would do wonders for the team, the coaching staff, for the more so the mental side of things. Look, the rest physically is great too, and they needed that for sure. But I also think what is very underrated is needing a mental break, needing to clear the deck, kind of get away and, reestablish the importance that this holds, right? Because at the early stages of this season, it was fun. You could tell they were having fun. And winning is fun. And if they would have kept winning, they would have kept having fun. But, losing sucks. And not having a break sucks. And when you combine the two together, it gets a little tough. And so watching the press conferences today, seeing the players in the locker room, there was a pep in their step. You could tell that this little, mini bye served as a big boost for them. And I'm not nervous about Sunday. Normally, anytime we play the Cowboys, Boss Man, that's my dad. He's a Cowboys fan. They've owned us. I don't have to explain to you how bad it's been against Dallas. But he always would say to me, doesn't matter how good we are or how bad you are, the only game I get nervous for is when we play you guys. Because it doesn't matter what the records are. I know you guys are going to play your hardest against us. And no matter what the situation is, you guys make me nervous. I'm not nervous for this Dallas week because we are the superior team and they're struggling, and the guys that they're going to put on the field shouldn't be good enough to beat us. However, I do respect them as the opponent. I know that it's a division game. I understand it's Dallas. The good thing is, psychologically, there is no advantage because most of the players who dealt with the ass whoopings that Dallas has delivered to us over the last 3 or 4 years, they're not here anymore, right? It'll make it that much sweeter for the Tressways and the Terry McLaurins and the Deron Paynes of the world, and the Sam Cosmes who were here, who endured, the Jeremy Reeveses, and even some of the rookies that were here last year that got their brains bashed in twice, including Quan Martin and a few others. Benjamin St. Juste experienced some of that. So it'll be sweet for them if we can kick the Cowboys' ass. But I'm anxious about this game. Not nervous, anxious. Because I'm ready to see these boys get back to playing the brand of football that allowed us to start this season off 7-2. That instilled the level of confidence in people like myself. I don't want to speak for anybody else out there. I was talking reckless. I was talking about chasing the number 1 seed in the NFC. I was talking about a first-round bye potentially. I didn't think that it was unattainable. I didn't say that we were going to go get it, but I said, could you imagine? Like, we're 7-2. The best team in the conference is 8-1. We are literally a half game behind the best team in the conference. No, we were 7-2 and they were 7-1, right? They had their bye already. We had not had our bye. We were literally a half game behind the Detroit Lions at one point, just 2 weeks ago. Just 2 weeks ago. We were 7-2, they were 7-1. And so I was talking reckless. And it was the play on the field of this team and this offense in particular that had me talking with the most confidence I've talked with since 2012. The offense has taken a step back. Not a big one. I think it's over-exaggerated, but it does not look like it looked earlier this season, clearly. And I think there are a multitude of reasons as to why. We've talked about them, but we're going to talk about them tonight because I think a lot of those things are about to go away, so to speak. We hope at least. But I start tonight's show off with this statement. This game against the Dallas Cowboys is the biggest game of the season because it's the next game of the season. You thought I was going to give you some profound statement here that was going to be some sort of a hot take? Nah. Now, I do have a reason why this is a big game, but it's the biggest game because it's the next game. And next week, the Tennessee Titans game will be the next biggest game of the season because it's the next game. That's my mentality. That's the team's mentality. That's the mentality that they should have. As fans, we get to look forward and ahead to the Saints and the Eagles' second matchup and the Falcons and the Cowboys again. We get to do that as fans. The players don't. I try not to live in that space. I've brought to your doorstep things like, hey, we can still win the division. And that was a discussion we had yesterday. I had that discussion because I want everyone to know that the season's not done and this division is not spoken for yet. A lot of people are starting to talk about wild cards. Hey, we got 2-game cushion on the next closest team. I don't want to talk about the wild card because that's not where my focus is. My focus is still on the division, but it's going to be one game at a time. We got to chop wood. One game at a time. Next opponent up is the Dallas Cowboys. That's why this is the biggest game. I will also tell you this is a massive game, and you know all the other reasons. It's an NFC East opponent. If you want to win this division, you got to sweep Dallas. You've already swept the Giants. You got to go back and get one from Philadelphia. All of that good stuff, right? The division games count as 2. I want revenge. We're going to talk about that more so tomorrow than today, but I want revenge. And that shit is on my mind like SWV. That shit is always on my mind. I want it so bad I can taste it. I'm out for blood on Sunday. And it don't stop. Right? And it don't stop. Ooh. It don't stop after this one. I don't care if we win by 70 on Sunday. I want to beat them by 80 in week 18. But I just, at the end of the day, I just want to win. Right? I just want to win. And whether it's by 51 or 1, I just want to win. But I really want to put the Cowboys' dick in the dirt. But the reason why this is the biggest game of the season, after you establish the right answer, which is it's the next game on the schedule, is this is an opportunity for this team to recalibrate itself and get back to the brand of football that instilled confidence in this fan base. This fan base is all over the place. You know, I've heard so many different people using so many different excuses. I've heard so many people saying that this is this and this is this guy's trash and Cliff Kingsbury is this and Jayden Daniels is that and this, that, and the third and here we go. And what we've effectively done with that 2-game losing streak is we've opened Pandora's box to the endless possibilities of why we won't make the playoffs, why Jayden Daniels isn't one of them ones, why, Cliff Kingsbury doesn't coach well on the back end of a schedule, et cetera, et cetera. We opened ourselves up to that. But here's an opportunity after a Thursday night game in which we were not happy with the outcome nor the execution of the team. Here's an opportunity for us to reestablish why we feel like we're not only a playoff team, not only are we the best team in the NFC East, because I still believe that. Which is why I was telling you, no matter what happened on Thursday, I expect to win 6 straight. But we still think we have a chance to be one of the better teams in the conference. And in order to reestablish that, you got to start with taking care of a team that everybody is taking turns getting their licks off of in the Dallas Cowboys. And yes, they may get some of their players back this week. We're going to look at the injury report here in a second. And they may be a lot healthier for us than they were for other teams. I don't care. Cooper Rush is their starting quarterback. I don't know what the offensive line is going to look like. Okay? I don't know what that's going to look like, but they're going to be banged up on that offensive line. And so I'm looking forward to this opportunity to take the Cowboys and absolutely emasculate them. And we're capable of doing that. And their defense is not trash, by the way, especially if they get some of these pieces back. Their defense is not trash. So we got to come with our A game. And I really expect to see the offense that we fell in love with the first 8 games of the season. I'm looking forward to seeing that offense show up here. Not the one we've seen miss opportunities the last 2 weeks, looked out of sorts last Thursday. I'm looking forward to seeing the offense that showed up against Carolina without our starting quarterback. The offense that showed up on the road at Arizona. The offense that showed up against Cleveland with 2 turnovers. I'm looking forward to seeing the offense that showed up in all of these games against Cincinnati on the road. I think that offense is going to show up on Sunday. And this is an opportunity. And that's why this game is so big, because this is an opportunity. There are no excuses, right? Not this week. Not after you've had a short little mini bye. Not after you've had a chance to recalibrate. You've had a chance to wipe the slate clean mentally, recharge the battery physically. Not after Jayden Daniels is smiling and chumming it up at the press conference. He looks like the Jayden that we saw early this season. Not the Jayden we saw the last couple of weeks that looked physically and mentally spent at the press conferences. He looked like the Jayden that was having fun again, right? I think this team, DQ sounds like, hey, we're ready. We're ready to get back after it. This is a big game, and I expect them to show up and show out. And I'm looking forward to it. As we transition to in other news, we heard from DQ. We're going to talk about what he had to say. We heard from Jayden Daniels. We'll talk about what he had to say as well. We're going to take a look at the injury report first, though. Take a look at the injury report for both teams heading into the Week 12 contest. But we're going to first start with the good guys. And it's an injury report that looks as to be expected, I think. We didn't really come away with any major, bumps or bruises on Thursday. Thank God about that. Noah Igbenogany injured his thumb. He had a non-contact jersey on. I think we were told that by either John Keim or one of the beat reporters told us that. I think it was John Keim. It might have been your boy that works for The Athletic. Either way, apparently he did something to his thumb. Hopefully he's fine. But Nick Bellore, I wanted him back this week. I'm not counting him out yet, but I was expecting him to be limited. And being that he is a DNP today, doesn't really bode well for him being ready to go come Sunday. And I felt like our special teams wasn't as sharp against the Eagles on Thursday. And Nick Bellore is a big part of the why we're sharp on special teams. He's a fiend. Zach Ertz always rests on Wednesday. And Marshawn Lattimore is still nursing the hamstring. Did do some side work today, but, he still was not a participant in practice. Cleveland Farrell, limited with his knee. Normally he goes limited today, then he's off on Thursday, and then he comes back in practice in full on Friday and isn't on the injury report. I expect that to continue. Noah Igbenogany, as I mentioned, limited with the thumb. We'll keep an eye on that, but I think he should be fine. Austin Seibert, that's a sight for sore eyes. Limited, and DQ spoke about him today. We'll talk about what was said there, along with Marshawn Lattimore and several others, the offensive line as well. So we'll talk about what he said about those guys in that group. But good to see Austin Seibert show up and not be DNP, right? We'll see if he can give it a go this week. It'd be nice to get him back in the lineup. Even though look, Zane Gonzalez did nothing wrong. We want Austin Cyber back, right? Ben Sinnott, illness, limited. We'll keep an eye on that, but I think he should be fine by the time Sunday rolls around, but that's something to keep an eye on. Dorrance Armstrong, Brandon Coleman, Javonte John Baptiste, and Jordan McGee, all full participants. The biggest name of that group is Javonte John Baptiste. Remember what I said last week? I said, I think I said this on Friday after we lost to the Eagles. I said, I'm done with F.A. Obata. And if you are a member of the mob, I know I said this to you specifically. I said, I'm done with F.A. F.A., I appreciate your service. A hell of a comeback after you broke your ankle last year. And I appreciate the effort that you're putting out. But he's slow. He doesn't really give us anything anymore. I need athleticism. I need length. I need a guy that can impact the game on that edge. And Javonte John Baptiste is a much better option out there. And we saw it early, got a sack, played the run really well. And I said, I need him to be back, activated, window open by Wednesday, right? I got my wish, activated, window open. Now the question is, can he be ready for Sunday? I hope that he is, because I'm done with F.A. Obata, okay? He serves absolutely no purpose at this point. And Javonte can help this team. And he showed us that early in the season. I'd love to see him be able to get back out there, get in this rotation. So that's the name that really, jumps out at me of all the guys that practiced in full today. So this is a good injury report. If you're a fan of the Commanders, this is what you like to see. Meanwhile, you get to the ops, and it's a long list of guys. Ours was pretty significant in terms of length, but theirs is longer. And there are some really big names on this list, so we got to go through this thing with a fine-tooth comb. We saw Marquise Bell's injury on Monday night. If you watched that game, it's hard for me to envision him being ready to play after he sustained the injury that he sustained on Monday night, but we shall see. I mean, he's really nothing more than a special teamer at this point. Anyway, one of the big names, one of the biggest names on this list is Deron Bland. He's been out the entire season due to a foot surgery that he had not too long before the season started that put him in his position. He's a full participant, hasn't played all season. That would be, I'm seeing all kinds of bums out there at the cornerback position outside of Trayvon Diggs. I don't know any of these guys, neither do you. So him being back would be a welcome addition for the Cowboys. I would love to get what everybody else got, which is no Deron Bland, but doesn't seem like that's going to be the case, right? Doesn't seem like that's going to be the case at all. Looks like he's going to play this week. And, you got to be careful around him. He likes to jump routes, but he can be beat too, right? So that might be a guy that plays this week. So I'm expecting him to play, as a matter of fact. Brandon Cooks, I'm seeing all kinds of, Joe Schmoes out there, a bunch of Jags at receiver for the Cowboys. They may have Brandon Cooks back this week. Haven't seen him in ages for this Cowboys team. That would be a boost, right? He's better than Flournoy and all these other guys. There are a bunch of dudes. I can't tell you who any of these receivers are. After Tolbert and Flournoy is trash, I can't tell you who any of these guys are. They may get Brandon Cooks back, right? It is what it is, right? He's limited. Jake Ferguson is another name to watch. He sustained a concussion. Look, we watched I think it was the Giants running back sustained a concussion on a Monday. If I'm not mistaken, they played the Steelers, and he sustained a concussion on Monday. Their rookie, Tyrone Tracy Jr., and he played on Sunday. So I'm not ruling Jake Ferguson out of anything. After seeing that, concussions vary in severity. So his concussion could be a lot more significant, but I'm not ruling anything out. But I don't expect Jake Ferguson to play. That's a big loss for them. He's a big time weapon for them offensively. Guyton got injured in the game when he recovered the fumble, did not return, but by all accounts, he seems to be fine. He's a full participant today. I expect him. Look, he stinks anyway. Right? I'll take my chances with him or his backup. Doesn't matter. I like our opportunities to beat him, force him to hold, that sort of thing. Hopefully, with a hurt shoulder, he's even less effective than he already is. So we'll see what happens there. Michael Kendricks, shoulder limited. He should be fine. Marshawn Nealon, defensive end, has been out for a very long time. He has a knee injury. He's limited. If they could get him back as a rookie, that would help a very, very suspect defensive line. So we'll see what happens there. CeeDee Lamb, back and foot. He's playing, so no issues there. Jordan Lewis, neck, limited. I don't think he played last week against the Texans. He may be back against us. So they could be getting fully healthy in their secondary. Then they would have all three of their starting corners back from a year ago. And it just so happens to be the game that we play them, that they might get all these guys back. If that's the case, so be it, right? We're going to have to find a way to still get it done. And look, they can't stop the run. So I don't really give a damn who's back, who's not back, whatever. We need to be able to run the football on these clowns, period. End of discussion. And then everything else kind of falls in line off of us being able to play bully ball against this Cowboys team. Let's see. Hunter Luepke, their fullback, calf, didn't practice. He's one of their physical guys in the run game. Also can catch it a little bit. Zach Martin, we saw him go down late in that game. Did not return. Ankle and shoulder. Did not practice. Look, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a guy that's done this, been in the league 11 years. Until he's not playing, I'm just going to assume that he is going to play. He's a tough guy, and I think he's going to be able to lace him up on Sunday. So I'm assuming he's going to play. Tyler Smith incurred an ankle injury late in that loss to Houston as well. That line started to fall apart towards the end of that game. Knee and ankle, didn't practice. Wednesday is the day that you don't practice if you've got something that's bothering you. Wednesday is the day you sit out because it gives you an extra day to get treatment and to get ready. And so tomorrow will be more telling. If Zach Martin and Tyler Smith, neither of them practice tomorrow, then I'm going to say, woo, offensive line is in some pretty rough shape. If I'm expecting both of them to be limited at a bare minimum tomorrow, I think both of them ultimately play on Sunday. And then Nick Vigil, foot injury, did not practice as well. So a lot of injuries, a lot of names, a lot of big names, but they may be getting some guys back this week. Guys that haven't played all season long, like Marshawn Nealon, like Deron Bland, like Jordan Lewis has played this season, but has been out here. Brandon Cooks has been out for a very long time as well. They may be getting a lot of stuff back this week. Even if that's the case, so be it. Bring it on, right? Anyway, I digress. Let's get to what was said at the podium today by both head coach Dan Quinn and quarterback Jayden Daniels. We'll start with DQ. Start off the press conference talking about just the excitement in the building, how guys were refreshed, how the staff was ready to get going, and he was so happy to have a full week of work. They had been dealing with a myriad of injuries, especially along the offensive line, right? Like the offensive line has been so banged up. Jayden has been banged up. And so it was hard for them to have the type of practices that they, really wanted to have. And then obviously the short week last week didn't make things any easier and complicated matters as well. So there are a lot of factors as to why practice hasn't been the way they would like it to have been. But he was excited about that. That's where he started the press conference off. And then obviously the press conference then quickly went to the injury status for several players, starting with Marshawn Lattimore. And DQ said, hey, we had him out there today on the side, riding a bike, doing, he did some speed drills over the weekend, which was, a positive sign. Did some bike work and some, side, work stuff today. And then he said tomorrow they're going to, finally kind of test him out a bit just to see where he is and if he can get in there and maybe mix it up a little bit and kind of test it to see how it feels. So we may be a lot closer than I've been led to believe. I still think he's a long shot to play this week. My guess is he is out of this game. And if he's out of this game, I still contend. I mean, look, if you can have him out there for Tennessee, you put him out there. But my thing is, if he misses this game, what's really the point of playing him in the last game prior to the bye? At that point, I just feel like you might as well just save him until after the bye and let New Orleans be his first game. A lot of fans are antsy. They want to play with the new toy. I've given you the analogy of getting something for Christmas and not being able to to use it because you don't have batteries. We've been waiting for batteries for a long time for some of you. I already knew once I went and did my homework as to what the situation was prior to getting here. I knew he was going to be on the shelf for a while, so I wasn't tripping. But at the end of the day, sounds like he may be closer to getting onto the practice field. I don't know if he'll be ready to contribute, in a game manner, but he may be closer to getting onto the practice field than I thought. I didn't think we would see him on the practice field at all, and that may still end up being the case. As you could see, he didn't practice today, and he may not practice tomorrow either. They may test him out, and he may say, you know what, yeah, I could use a little bit more time, or it feels a little tight, or whatever. And so we'll see what ultimately takes place tomorrow. That's a big day for him and some of the other guys. Speaking of which, our place kicker, Austin Seibert, we got an update on him, and he was limited today. And so DQ said, we're really going to try to push it tomorrow. We're going to do kickoffs tomorrow. We're going to really see him stretch that leg out a bit, see how he feels. And then, we'll really get a sense of when we push him tomorrow, how does he feel in terms of the recovery process on Friday? And so they'll have a better feel for whether they can remove Zane Gonzalez from the equation or if they need to hold on to Zane for another week and kind of let Austin continue to heal. So we'll find out more about him. Jayden is absolutely fine. I think Jayden is getting closer and closer back to being 100%. I told you that I felt like he was as healthy as he's been since the injury against Philadelphia because they started calling designed runs. They were not doing that the previous 3 weeks since the injury. They didn't call any design runs against Chicago. They didn't call any design runs against the Giants. They didn't call any design runs against Pittsburgh. They called designed runs against the Eagles. That let me know, oh, he's back, right? So I don't have any, issues with his health. And Jayden talked about getting wrapped up on the sidelines. I'll give you his answer. I'll tell you if I'm buying the answer he gave, but it's in his answer nonetheless. But he talked about the offensive line. He was asked, was DQ about the offensive line and their health right now. And he said that everybody is a full go. We are fully healthy along the offensive line for the first time since probably like week 4 when Nick Allegretti sustained the ankle injury against the Arizona Cardinals. So he said pool party, right? Because it's pool party time because the entire offensive line is healthy. So now the question I have is, do you go back to the platoon left tackle situation with Cole Luke getting some of the snaps and splitting time with Brandon Coleman? Because I can tell you right now, this is from my perspective, Brandon Coleman ain't it. And my patience has run very thin with him. I was already on the fence with him early in the season, and all of you who are mob members know that. I was not very easy on him because left tackle is one of the most important positions on the offense in general, not just the offensive line, but on the offense in general, because it's the quarterback's blind side. He can't see what's going on back there, and it's your job to protect it. And I don't think Brandon Coleman is equipped to do that consistently. And so I personally would go to Cole Luke, and if they want to do the platoon thing, fine. Go ahead and have at it. I think Brandon Coleman is a guard. I've said that. I believe that. And if he's a guard, it's okay. We spent the 3rd round pick on a guard. That's okay. But I guess they're going to continue to roll with him. That's my guess. Is they're going to continue to see what he can do. I don't like Brandon Coleman on that edge. And if I'm the Cowboys, I'm lining up Michael Parsons across from him as often as I can, because I think he's a bigger liability than that of Andrew Wiley. And that's saying something, because Andrew Wiley, we've felt for a long time, is the biggest liability on this offensive line. I think the new biggest liability is Brandon Coleman. So we'll see what they decide to do. But my guess is they'll just leave the line as it is intact, and Cole Luke will go back to being the swing tackle on this team. But offensive line completely healthy. That's good news as well. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but Brian Robinson Jr. was not on that injury report. So he's getting healthier as well. So I'm feeling really good about where we are from a health standpoint and where we're trending. DQ talked about, obviously his time in Dallas. What did he learn there? And he expressed learning so much in his time in Dallas from that organization and, from the higher ups, Will McClay, those guys, to Mike McCarthy and some of the other coaches. He talked about some of the players, like they could be getting DaRon Bland back. And he shared a story about DaRon Bland and how he's kind of even keel, really good player. You could tell that there was a really, strong relationship and bond between DQ and a lot of those players that are currently in Dallas, and Bland being one of them. He talked about DeMarvion Overshown. I don't know if y'all have watched this guy. Number 13, if you're keeping score at home for the Dallas Cowboys, this dude is a freak. I mean, he is flying around. He scares me. Now, he's another one of these Michael Parsons guys where you need to know where he is at all times, because this guy's flying around, right? And if you don't block him, Jayden ain't outrunning him, okay? Just tell you right now, don't want to get in a foot race with him because that dude is a blur. So he talked about DeMarvion Overshown. He said, we knew it when we drafted him in Dallas. We knew what he could be, and you're seeing it now. Remember, he got injured, tore his ACL, missed all of the last season. DQ was there, so he never really got to coach him in a game. But, they'd seen enough in practice leading up to that preseason when he got hurt, or it might have been the first game of the season that year, whatever the case may be. I think it was a preseason he got hurt. But DQ was like, I knew this kid was going to do that. He plays the way DQ wants players to play, which is fast, physical, and violent. And so he talked about him, and he talked about the scheme that they're running. He's like, yeah, it's a little bit different than what I run, what we were running there. But he's like, the scheme that they run under Mike Zimmer is very successful. He's had success with it. That double A gap blitz look, mugging the A gaps, things of that nature. So he's like, we got to be prepared for all of that. He talked about Al Harris. This is what I'm really interested in. When they're gonna clean house after this season. Cowboys are gonna cut bait with everybody, and they're gonna hire a brand new staff. And I'm interested to see if Al Harris is a guy that he brings. Like, he loves Al Harris. Remember, he wanted to bring Al Harris. Al Harris wanted to come. Al Harris said, and I quote, "I would follow DQ to the ends of the earth. If that man called me in Antarctica, I'd be there in an instant," right? So, no, Al Harris is a guy that DQ loves as a cornerbacks coach. I think that everybody's going to be gone, right? They're all going to be dismissed. I want to see what they do because I think they like their cornerbacks coach that's here this year. But I mean, even if they brought him in some sort of, defensive assistant capacity, I can't see how Al Harris doesn't end up in Washington next year. But he talked about Al Harris and how they coach those defensive backs, and when he was talking about DaRon Bland and things of that nature. And so it's a big game, but he's like, it's not a big game because I was in Dallas, or Dorrance was in Dallas, or Dante Fowler Jr. was in Dallas, or Tyler Biadasz was in Dallas. It's a big game because it's the next game on the schedule. It's an NFC East game. It's a game that we need to win, right? That's why it's a big game. But he talked about being able to get back on the practice field. He said, that's what's really hurt us. And he said, I'm really looking forward to good against good. We haven't been able to do that in a very long time because we've been so banged up. We've been banged up on the offensive line. Brian Robinson Jr. has been banged up. Jayden Daniels has been banged up, right? We've been banged up on the offensive side. We've been banged up on the defensive side, right? And so you're finally starting to get back all of these pieces that allows you to go good on good in practice. And he's like, I'm so excited for us to get back to that. He said, a lot of the issues that we've seen, a lot of them stem from timing and things that you don't get to replicate in the game. You need those practice reps. We haven't gotten them. And so it's going to be really good to get back to doing that. And I that music to my ears, right? So that was essentially DQ in his press conference today. He's really excited about the opportunities that lie ahead, as am I. You get to Jayden Daniels. He spoke today, and he started off, I don't know what the beginning of the press conference was, but apparently it sounded like they were. I was ear hustling hard trying to figure out. I played it back like 3 or 4 times. I'm ear hustling. Sounds like they were talking about stocks, right? Some sort of stock, and somebody was talking about how high it went and how much they paid for it and this, that, and the third. And Jayden's like, for real? You dead ass? Like, so he was, whatever was being said, he was locked in, and he was like, yo, you serious? Dead ass. For real. And I I really would like to know what they were talking about, but in any event, so he starts off laughing about something that's being talked about off to the side of the stage, and so that's a good sign because his press conferences since the injury had really, I don't want to say they were morbid, but they weren't as jovial. They weren't as happy-go-lucky like they were earlier in the season, where he was smiling and the answers were longer. And so this was almost a 9-minute presser, which again, we were getting to where these things were 6 minutes long, right? Like, so you can tell he's in better spirits. And so, of course, first thing they asked him, "How you feeling?" And he was like, "Man, I feel good." And that break, the mini bye was, really refreshing, not just from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint. Being able to get away, clear the deck. He's like that was some really good time off. And so DQ talked about, let me go back to DQ for a second, because he talked about the mini buy and what they utilized it for. And he said for the coaches, it gave them a chance to kind of re-emphasize some of the things that they had already been hammering home, but to really lock in and hone in on some of the things, because it felt like a lot of our misses in the past game and the misses offensively here of late have been like detail oriented. Like it's a little miss here. It's, hey, Jayden's not even reading that side of the field, or hey, he didn't hang on to this receiver long enough to allow the play to develop, or we didn't run it at the right depth. So he's like, we went back in and we honed in on the granular details of a lot of the things that we had already been hammering home. But he's like, we had an opportunity to do that. And he said also, as a coaching staff, anytime you get a day off, it's like it feels like 10 days, because you rarely get that opportunity during the season without a bye week. And he said, we'll really have a chance to really lock in and then, have some time off and all that stuff when we get into that bye week in a couple of weeks. So, but back to Jayden, he talked about how good he feels, how he was able to recharge the battery here mentally. He's like, that's the biggest thing. He's like, when people tell you that your rookie season is going to be the longest year of your life, you really can't describe it until you go through it and you experience it. And he's like, man, he said, from the last college football game to then the pre-draft process to then getting drafted to then immediately thereafter you're in rookie minis and then OTAs, and then there's a brief period there where you get a couple of weeks off, and then bam, it's training camp, and you go straight from training camp into the preseason, straight from the preseason into the regular season. And then most teams get a bye, week 5, week 6, week 7, week 8, week 9, somewhere. We still ain't had a damn bye. And so he's like, this has made it even longer, but he's like, this little mini bye here was, exactly what he needed. And he took full advantage of it. And then so they asked him, how was it? And what's crazy is my wife saw the post of him at Wale's concert. And she told me when she saw it, she was like, yeah, he looked like he didn't want to be there. Like, that's not his scene, right? And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't look at it. I trust my wife. If she says that, I'm like, but we know Jayden's personality. Like, that's not like, he's a guy that wants to, he's a homebody. It feels like he'd much rather be at home, chilling, playing the game. Football's on, watching football, basketball on, watch some basketball, and kind of just chill. Like, that's his thing, right? So, that's what my wife said. And then, Ed, we were on the Commanders Kings stream episode yesterday, and Ed was like, he really wasn't moving, so I think he is hurt. And Jayden was like, nah, it ain't none of that. That's just not my scene. But, guy like Wale invites you out, guy with that kind of influence, worldwide, but specifically here in the DMV, you don't say no to that. You just come out, and you support, and that's what I did. But he came out on stage and he was like, yeah, this is cool, but this is not me, right? So it was funny hearing him say that, because my wife literally told me that 3-4 days ago. And to hear him say that, I said, babe, you were right. And she was like, I told you, I could tell. And so he talked about what he did with this time. And he was like, yo, I just really just rested and, just kind of mentally just got away a little bit. I watched football, watched college football, watched NFL, watched basketball, just kind of chill, right? We obviously saw he was out, chilling out on the town a little bit, but, just getting away a little bit. I told y'all when this mini bye was coming that the biggest thing is mental. Like, yeah, physically you want guys to get healthy, right? And that's going to happen over time. But mentally, it's a drain on you, right? It's taxing mentally to go. And I just explained to you what Jayden Daniels' year has been, right? Finish up your college football season in December. He didn't play in the bowl game in January. So finish that up in December and then straight into the pre-draft process for him. Working out, getting ready, combine, all of that stuff, right? And then you do all of that all the way up until April, late April, into May. Soon as that's done, early May, you're in mini camps after you get drafted, rookie minis. And then the process just plays itself out all the way until where we are now into mid-November, right? He hasn't really had a break. Unless you're counting that, maybe 2-3 week period after the last mini OTA in June till July, really hasn't had a break. Because that 1 month is it. But to see these guys get an opportunity to recharge the battery is big. And he talked about that. He said that, he talked about Dallas, watching them because they asked, did you watch the game on Monday? And he was like, yeah, of course, I'm a football fan. I wasn't really watching it as, a player, analyzing what the Cowboys do. I was just watching it as a fan. You're like, you really need the all 22s, which is correct. You need the all 22s to really see what's going on and to really dissect and analyze what's being done. And so he talked about that. He said, they got some dogs over there. We got to be careful. Obviously, Michael Parsons stands out above the rest, but they got some guys that fly around. I talked about DeMarvion Overshown and what he can do. And so, Trayvon Diggs, he talked about that. Like, hey, if you put a ball too close to him, he's going to pick it off. And so he's very aware of what the Cowboys bring to the table. And, he talked about that. He said, look, I don't know anything about this rivalry. I just got here. I'm new to all of this. So, you can't ask me what does this mean to me and this, that, and the third. I know that this means a lot to the fans, but I just got here. So he said, maybe on Sunday when I get out to the game, I will, really get a taste of what it feels like in the crowd, and environment will be different. And I'll know that this is different. But right now, I really don't have any, insight as to what this rivalry truly means because I've never been a part of it. So, which is fair, right? But for fans like myself and most of you out there who watch the Cowboys emasculate us on Thanksgiving on national television with no regard for human life, no, this one is this. I literally want to bury the Cowboys under Northwest Stadium. All right. I literally want them to not even be recognizable. Like, you can't have an open casket after this game. That's the kind of damage I'm looking to do to these boys. But look, the goal is to win, right? That's the overarching theme, is just win. But boy, I'm going to be really disappointed if we don't kick their ass royally in this game. But I just want to win. At the end of the day, get to 8-4. That's all I care about. And so, Jayden talked about this rivalry and really not, knowing much about it. But, so they asked him about his ribs. Hey, bro, you're getting your shit wrapped up every time you come off the field. What's that about? He's like, it's really just to stay warm. And I'm like, so you're getting your ribs wrapped so you can stay warm. Now, if you say I'm trying to keep my ribs warm, okay, I guess I can go for that. But if you're trying to stay, just put the coat on, right? Like, nobody else is getting their ribs wrapped to stay warm outside. Okay, so look, I'll be a lot more comfortable with him when he's no longer getting his ribs wrapped on the sidelines. There may be a chance that doesn't take place this Sunday, where maybe that won't happen until after the bye. I don't know. But there'll always be this notion that if things don't go well and he's not playing as sharp as we saw him do earlier this season, there will always be the notion that he's not healthy if he's continuing to get his ribs wrapped on the sidelines after every possession. But I don't know if I'm 100% buying the whole that keeps me warm theory that he just threw out there. But at the end of the day, I think he's healthy. I think we're going to see him be a bigger part of the run game. He was a part of the run game, which I told the mob on Thursday when we were watching the game. I said, oh shit, we might have our three-headed monster back of JD5, 30, and 8. Because if he's getting used in quarterback draw situations and things like that, means they're no longer concerned with him taking hits. That means he's healthy, right? They're not going to put him in compromising situations if they didn't think he could take and withstand the punishment. So the fact that they're putting him in those situations tells me that they're very comfortable with where he is physically. So I'm like, oh no, we about to have this shit running again. This three-headed monster of Eck, B-Rob, and JD5 is about to get going again. I thought we were going to really blaze the Eagles with it. But unfortunately, it was just really B-Rob in the run game and Eck in the pass game, and JD5 wasn't really a part of either one of those very successfully. So hopefully we get to see him back in that because the Cowboys are an aggressive defense. So you can use that aggressiveness against them. And I'm hoping that's what takes place in this game. But again, we will see. So let's go ahead and take our first look at the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, Week 12 matchup, 105 at Northwest Stadium. Cowboys coming to Northwest. And I hope that we put the Berg and gold back on, put the gold pants back on. We've been without them these last two games, and we didn't get it done, obviously. The white on whites, I got no issues with whatsoever. We just didn't get it done on Thursday. But I want to see the Berg and gold back on, and I really want to see them take it to this Cowboys team now. As I mentioned, they're dangerous still. Like, I don't want you to show up like this is the Carolina Panthers earlier. And look, I took the Panthers serious. I took the Browns serious. I'm taking these Cowboys serious because if you think the Dallas Cowboys are lying down, like Mike McCarthy is coaching for his job. I think he's fired already, right? But he's coaching for his job, and those players are playing for their jobs. Like the NBA or the NFL is the one sport where there's no such thing as tanking. Fans can talk about it, but organizationally, you can't tank. Because whomever you put in the game, they're playing for their livelihood. They're playing for their lives, right? Guys aren't thinking about, well, you know, we want a quarterback. You're not going to be here to enjoy the spoils of a new quarterback. They get rid of your ass if you don't put good tape out there. And even if you're not going to be back with the team that you're with, you're putting on the audition for the other 31 teams. So dudes are going to go out there and bust their ass and play hard, right? So no matter who's on the field for Dallas, we saw the guy Bryn Spanford from Minnesota, the undrafted tight end out of Minnesota. He was like, yo, shit, this is my opportunity. The next group might come in here and they might be like, yo, we didn't draft you. You were undrafted. They're not going to have new general managers and new talent evaluators. All the people that pick the players are still going to be in that building. But the new group might come in and say, we don't need him. Well, this is an opportunity. If Jake Ferguson doesn't play, you know, Spanford, this is his opportunity to show the other 31 teams, hey, I can play in this league. I serve a purpose. Give me an opportunity. So, look, as much as the Cowboys stink right now, they're dangerous still. And they haven't scored points, and I like the way that we are playing defense right now. And the fact that they're not a really good rush offense makes me feel good about our ability to stop them from running the football and all the issues that they may have up front. I saw the guy TJ Bass come in for Zach Martin. If that guy has to play, Deron Payne might have 3 sacks in the game. Like, he stinks. If the Payne can't take advantage of TJ Bass, then we got a Deron Payne problem, right? We have an issue and we need to have a discussion. Unless they're just doubling him the entire game. That means somebody else needs to be eaten, right? But at the end of the day, this is my mindset going into the game. Having watched the Cowboys these last 2 weeks in particular without Dak Prescott, seeing who they are, knowing that they may get some of their stuff back this week, this is my mindset going into the game. They need help to score consistently. So we cannot help them, meaning we can't have penalties. They are right now creating unforced errors by themselves, right? They're turning it over. They're committing penalties. They're making mistakes. We don't need to help them. And we can't give them opportunities to get the ball in the hands of their best players consistently. So first thing I'm doing this game, kicking it out of the end zone. That's the first order of business. Is Kevontae Turpin is their most dangerous player on their team right now. I still, for the life of me, don't know why he's not touching it 7 to 10 times a week. Like, if he's on my team, I'm getting the ball in Kevontae Turpin's hands as much as possible because he is dynamic. I don't want him touching it on the kickoff because that's the first way they can hurt you. All right. I'd rather give it to him at the 30 and force them to drive it 70 yards and say, hey, let's see what you got. What I don't want is him running it back to the 40 or midfield or breaking one for a touchdown and giving them a free 7, right? I'd much rather say, hey, start at the 30. Let's see what you got, right? That's first order of business, okay? And then the second order of business for me is I'm not blitzing Cooper Rush with more than 5 defenders. I really just want to rush 4 and drop 7 because you saw what happened when the Texans got aggressive. They blitzed and they hit Kevontae Turpin on a slant. He was gone for a touchdown, right? That's the kind of thing you don't want to give up this week against the Cowboys. Nothing cheap, nothing deep, nothing easy. Make them earn it, right? Make them drive the field, 13 plays because I don't think they can. I don't think they're capable of doing that consistently. I don't think they're capable. So I'm going to make them do that over and over again. Snap the ball again because you got a faulty offensive line. Well, all it takes is one snap for somebody to get beat, Cooper Rush, to not have the pocket awareness, balls out, right? All it takes is for one thing to go wrong. And all of a sudden your drive is dead, right? Dead, I tell you. So I'm not blitzing. And if I am, I'm only bringing one extra rusher. That's a 5-man rush. So I can still have 6 guys back. But I'm not going to give CeeDee Lamb one-on-one on the outside. F that. He should be getting double teamed. Anytime he runs anything vertical, anytime he runs something deep, he should be double teamed at all times because he's the one guy that can hurt you, right? Outside of, as I just mentioned, Kevontae Turpin. But defensively, they're not bad, okay? The Texans were struggling. Now, they struggle to stop the run. But this is the thing. We don't have Joe Mixon, right? We don't have Saquon Barkley. So are we going to be able to fully take advantage of their struggles on the ground? Maybe. Stopping the run? Maybe. Right? Maybe. But Joe Mixon was able to bust off big runs. He was able to get to the outside, use his speed. We don't have that kind of speed. None of our running backs do, right? Not Brian Robinson Jr., not Austin Eckler, not Jeremy McNichols. None of them possess that kind of quickness or speed. So I don't know if hopefully we can just maul them up front, open up massive holes. They have to respect. I think Jayden is going to be back in the read option game, and I think he's going to present himself as an option to pull it. You really got to, I think, use their aggressiveness because we know 11 is going to want to try to make a play, Michael Parsons. So if you're reading him, he's going to want to crash down on a running back, and you read him and you try to maybe exploit him on that edge, right? So I think you can see Jayden pull it a couple of times in this game and maybe try to exploit them. And then that might soften them up on the edges, make them a little bit hesitant to crash down. That's when you hand it off to B-Rob and Eck inside and let them eat. And hopefully we're destroying them up front and we're able to control the line of scrimmage and then go from there and then have the pass game work off of that. And then hopefully catch them, bringing the safety down, being nosy. Terry gets one-on-one. Hopefully you're able to exploit some of those opportunities. Linebackers start to suck up. Kendricks and Overshown, they love to blitz him, and they come up and we're able to hit that intermediate, route to Noah, to Zach Ertz, to Terry, et cetera. But I think it starts up front. Both sides of the football, line of scrimmage. We are the better team in both instances. We need to act like it, right? But we'll get into more of that tomorrow when we get into behind enemy lines. Take a look at, some numbers for both teams. And then obviously we'll get into the keys to victory for, both the offensive and defensive sides of the football tomorrow. So let's get to the comment section and what you guys have to say. Let's make some social media maneuvers real quick. Big shout out to everybody in the comment section. Over 400 of you out there. Really appreciate you. Love the fact that we're in triple digits in the likes category, but we can get that higher. Over 415 of you out there, only 104 likes. We can do so much better. So go ahead and make sure you hit that like button. Big shout out to the mob. We in the building. You know what it is. Also, big shout out to all my Patreon supporters. You guys, of course, along with the mob, are the heartbeat of the Louie Team Network. And also want to take this time to also give you a public service announcement for the Dominican Republic trip. the Louie Network lifestyle trip to the DR, Punta Cana, June 26th through the 30th. Gonna have a ton of fun. You're gonna hear me talk about this all the time leading up to this trip. I'm gonna be doing videos about it. I'm gonna be doing little promos about it, but we're gonna have a lot of fun. You still have plenty of time to try and register, but the clock is ticking, right? And the longer you take to try to register, the shorter amount of time you have to pay for the trip. But we're gonna have a blast. I'm looking forward to chopping it up with all of you that are going to be in attendance on this trip. And like I said, the first one is always going to be the best one, because I want to make sure that you want to do this again. Like, if we're going to do this every year, and there's things that I'm going to do this year that I'm not going to do in future, trips in the future. So make sure that you're a part of this first one as we head over water to the Dominican Republic. So, and that link is in the description and in the description of every video to sign up and register for that trip. So with that said, let's go ahead and get to the super chats. And we start with Commander Cole. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, y'all can call me crazy, but I'll be disappointed if we don't win by 20 plus. This Cowboys team is trash. Put them to bed for good. Commanders win 41-13. Now, I think we might see a different iteration of them in terms of guys being healthy, but I agree with you. They're not good, and I want to see us destroy them. They haven't scored points since Dak Prescott. Look, they weren't really scoring points before Dak Prescott got injured. They're not scoring points since he got injured. They scored 6 against the Eagles, 10 against the Texans. So they're not scoring points. I want – so the key is going to be you got to jump on them early. When you let teams that aren't good hang around, they gain confidence. If any Cowboy has been there for more than 1 year, they're not a rookie, then all they know is beating the brakes off of us. So their confidence is, it's Commanders. I don't care Jayden Daniels. I don't care what they're doing this year. We beat Washington. Like, remember when we were playing the Giants early in the season? Kayvon Thibodeau was like, what rivalry? The Commanders? Yeah, right. He's never lost to us. So, of course, that's his mindset. To hell with the Commanders, right? If I'm one of those Cowboys players that have been there for 2-3 years, all we've done is smoke the Commanders. What do I give a damn about what record they have right now? We should beat them. They beat us with Cooper Rush, right? They've beaten us with Cooper Rush before. So in their minds, they're like, yo, why we can't beat these clowns? They still ain't shit. So the longer you let them hang around, the more that starts to seep in. I want to get off to a fast start. Like score on the opening possession fast start. I want to win the toss, defer till after half, go out, get a 3-and-out or a turnover. Whichever one suits you best. I'd love to get a turnover, but I just need the ball back to the offense immediately, right? And then I want to go down and score. Set the tone, set the tempo, right out of the gates. And from that point forward, just off and running. I want this thing to be over at halftime. When we've been at our best against bad teams, the game was no longer in doubt. The game was over at pretty much halftime against Arizona. We had I don't want to say a commanding lead against Cincinnati, but we started to establish ourselves against Cincinnati. I think the score was 21-10 at halftime against Cincinnati. So we were up 2 scores in that game, if I'm not mistaken, right? It might have been 21-13. And then we got the ball to start the second half, and we went down and scored another touchdown. It was 28-13. I think it was 21-13. But we had already established ourselves in that game. Scored on our, the first 3 out of 4 possessions, I believe, if not all 3 of them in the first half, and really let Cincinnati know, hey, this ain't that type of party, bro. Did it to Arizona. I think it was 17-7 at halftime. Scored on the first possession out of the half, 24-7. They were dead after that, right? Cleveland, I think that score was 24 or 20-3 or something like that. Matter of fact, yeah, because we weren't sporting a shutout with them. It was 24-3 or something like that at halftime. whatever it was. We were crushing them. It felt over, 20, 17-3, 20-3, something like that. You want to be in firm control of the game. We haven't done that since Carolina. I think we were 20-0 at halftime against Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, something to that effect. That's where I want to be against Dallas at halftime. Clearly, we are the alpha in this matchup, and this is not your day. Maybe Carolina, maybe the Giants on Thanksgiving, but it ain't today. That's what I want to establish. I'll be disappointed. 20, we don't have to beat them by 20. I'd love to beat them by 20. Everybody else is doing it. But at the end of the day, I just want to win this game comfortably, right? That's win is the number one goal. Just win. The next, after you've established winning, win comfortably. And then after you establish winning comfortably, I want to kick their teeth in, right? So it's levels to this. Win the game first. Get to 8-4. That's the most important thing. The next thing is, all right, now we've established that we're winning this game. Let's win comfortably. I'm not trying to sweat in the fourth quarter. I don't want my heart beating faster than it needs to, right? Let's win this thing comfortably. And then after you've established, hey, we winning this comfortably. All right, now I want to kick their teeth in. Now I want to start running the score up. Now I want to treat them like there's some kind of chump, low-level program, and we're a high-powered machine in college football, and we put our backups in, and we still scoring touchdowns. That's the type of time I want to be on late in the game. But let's just win the game first. Let's do that first. LT, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. LT writes, what will it say if Philly goes 2-0 easy? First of all, your first game wasn't easy against us. You just like to hear yourself talk, don't you, LT? All right. Look, we're going to keep it a bean. You barely won the first game. You barely won the first game. It may have been 26-10, but like I said, it was 10-6 in the fourth quarter. You were up 12-10, and we were driving, and we could have kicked the field goal. We shouldn't have even been in that position if Brian Robinson Jr. just get the first down. We probably would have scored a touchdown on that possession because y'all didn't have an answer, to be honest with you. That's where shit fell apart. So let's not act like y'all was destroying us. Please. Please. All right. Y'all won. Gotta give y'all credit. Y'all made our offense look really pedestrian. Gotta give you credit. But what we're not going to do is act like that was an easy win, like y'all dusted us or something. Like, if y'all would have dusted us, then I would be concerned about the next game against y'all. I'm not. I'm concerned from this standpoint. You're the best team in the division. And in order for us to get where we want to go, we got to beat y'all, and we got to start beating y'all. Not coming close, not being competitive. We got to start winning against y'all. But make no mistake about it. I didn't leave that game thinking, shit, we ain't even close to Philly. Didn't leave that game feeling that way. I left that game saying, hey, we'll get them next time. King of the Bluegrass, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. King of the Bluegrass writes, what up, Lou? What's up, King of the Bluegrass? So ready to see the fellas get back on the field. That Philly loss hurt. It did, but you know what? It didn't sting as much as I thought it would. I kind of went into that game with the mindset of, like, I just want this break, bro. If we could find a way to beat Philadelphia, that'll be great. But I knew we were going to be capable, but would we execute? And we didn't. But I knew we would be capable. And the Philly loss, it stung because there was an opportunity. They missed 2 field goals. We held them, like, the defense played as well as they could play for 3 quarters, and we didn't take advantage. That's what hurt. They played as well as a defense can play without forcing a turnover. And we didn't take advantage. That shit hurt. I'm just anxious to see the fellas get back on the field because I think there's a chance we get back to playing our brand of football. We haven't seen our brand of football since the Giants' second game. That was week 9. We're in week 12. Offensively, we haven't seen our brand of football since week 9 versus the Giants. So, and if you want to take it a step further, if you want to say we haven't had a dominant performance since week 7 against Carolina. So, again, I'm thinking we can try to get back to some of that. Christopher McLaughlin, my guy. C-Mac, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Chris, writes, hey, Lou. Hope all is well with you and the family. What's up, Chris? Likewise. You know what it is. 2 questions. 1, what do you think Kingsbury can do to help get Terry the ball in game more and move him to the Y or the Z position, more in motion, and why? And 2, how would you help improve the third down efficiency? 34% last 3 games. So you kind of answered the first question. Like, to me, like, moving Terry around would obviously help because it's easy to take him away when you know where he is at all times. If he's at the X on the left side of the formation, it's easy to just say, hey, we're going to have the corner on the outside. We're going to have the safety shading down. And if need be, we'll have the defensive end. Like, we try to run a slant. They drop the defensive end or the linebacker, Zach Bond, right into that slant zone, right? Jayden wasn't pulling the trigger there, and he shouldn't have, right? So if you move him around, you send him in motion. Even if you leave him on that side of the field, you send him in motion, you change the coverage and how they're able to defend him. He's not in the same spot. It's not as predictable. That's the value in moving guys around, is now the predictability of, hey, this is all we got to do to take him away. That is eliminated. If he goes in motion, now you had a trap set for him on this side. Now he's all on the right side. You know, now it changes things. They got to shift their coverage. They got to bump. They got to move, all of that stuff. So moving him around to different places in the formation would definitely help. Getting him into stacks and bunches where, like, I've seen times where he gets jammed, and not that he's struggling with the jam, but it's throwing off the timing of the route. And JD5 is like, yo, if you don't get open soon, I'm going to have to move on to the next read. And he's not giving him enough time to work to get open. So to put him in stacks and bunches where he can't get jammed, that helps as well. You know, changes the way that defenses can, you know, try to disrupt the timing of the route and defend him and things of that nature. But again, at the end of the day, it shouldn't be, I don't care who you are or, you know, what is on the field with that player. If that guy is one of those players, you got to find a way to give him the ball. There's no excuse not to get him the football. And there were opportunities to get Terry the football. Here's something that I would advocate for them to do. Stop running these deep ass routes. Everything against Philadelphia was 15 to 12 yards down the field. And it was too long developing. It felt like Eric Bieniemy in his offense last year, where everything was so far down the field that you were asking the offensive line to hold up for too long. Early in the season, the ball was coming out. Bam, 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 bam. And, you know, you were frustrating defenses. The ball was coming out quick. We were staying on schedule. It didn't feel like that against Philadelphia. A lot of, especially for Terry in particular, a lot of long developing routes for Terry. Then his one catch, right? They moved him to the the right side of the formation, where he's always constantly at the left side. They moved him to the right side of the formation. He runs a comeback, right? And we move the pocket with JD5 and he hits him on the comeback. Like, that's a simple way to get him involved, right? A simple 5-yard speed cut is another way to get him involved, right? I didn't see Terry run any of those. Just something simple, a 5-yard stop in front of the corner. Come off the ball like you're running, because the corner was playing off. He was playing zone, right? Quinyon Mitchell was playing off in zone with outside leverage, forcing him inside, right? And to the safety, trying to spill him to the safety or the inside help. And, you know, Terry's running right into him, running all the way down the field. I'm like, what happened to the 5-yard stop? Get it to him in his hands, right? Let him create right there. There's ways they can get him the ball, right? And, you know, I'm not a Terry behind the line of scrimmage. I'm not Terry jet sweep. I'm not Terry wide receiver screen. But I am Terry screen or slant. I am Terry 5-yard out. I am Terry 5-yard stop. You know, I am Terry shallow cross, right? Which they did run a number of those, you know, mesh concepts and things of that nature. I am pro all of that for Terry because he's capable in those situations. They tried to run Terry across the formation on a boot, right? And the Eagles played it perfectly. Diami was open and Jayden didn't get it to him, though. He just tucked it and ran. So I think there's a multitude of things you can do to get Terry open, get him the football. But at the end of the day, I just think they need to shorten the routes that he's running right now. Get back to the basics. And then we can expand the route tree. We can get them out further as we get back into a rhythm. But right now, let's get back to the basics. Let's get back to the 5-yard game. Let's get back to the slant, right? And then the third down efficiency, 34% over the last 3 games. We were one of the best in football early in the season. We couldn't be stopped. It's the reason why we weren't punting, right? We were excellent on third downs, and when we didn't get it on third downs, guess what? We were 9 of 9 to start the season on fourth down. So, or 11 of 11, on fourth downs to start the season. So, highly efficient early, haven't been of late. One, we played better defenses in the Eagles and the Steelers in particular. But that doesn't explain what happened against the Giants, right? We weren't super effective against them, right? That's a part of the 34%. We weren't bad against the Giants, though. I think we were like 7 of, like something around that, like 7 of 13 or 6 of 11 or something like that. We were over 50% or somewhere hovering around there. So we weren't bad in that game. But the last 2 have been pretty abysmal. And like the Eagles game was somewhat hard to explain because we really weren't in third and longs. Think about it. The Mr. Terry on the shallow cross where he should have went to act, that's a 3rd and 4. We were in 2nd and 2, and then we ran a stupid ass quarterback draw and lost 2 yards and made it 3rd and 4. That's manageable. 3rd and 4, that's what you want. We were in on the 2nd and inches. B-Rob loses a yard, makes it 3rd and 1, loses another yard, makes it 4th and 2, right? Like 3rd and 1 and 4th and 2. What are we talking about, right? Like those are manageable downs and distances. And we were in those types of situations quite a bit throughout the night, and we just didn't convert. And it was the bitter pill to swallow, knowing that you had opportunities to convert, third down in very manageable situations, and we just didn't. And I think how you get better in those situations is you get back to the spacing. Remember, I don't know if you guys remember me talking about this before the season or during the early portion of the season. I told you one of the things I was most impressed with Cliff Kingsbury about offensively was the amount of space we were creating on the field. Remember I told y'all that? I said, even in the run game, we're just creating copious amounts of space, whether it's JD5's threat of running the ball so the ends have to stay wide and stay at home, which is creating these massive lanes in the run game in between the tackles, or you're talking about the pass game. It just felt like there was a ton of space, right? Everywhere, all around the field. There was just so much space. I don't feel like we're creating as much space. If you look at that Eagles game, it felt like everything was condensed. There wasn't enough space, and guys were too close to one another. I think about that play to Terry. Eckler's running the Texas route, the arrow route. He was open. JD5 should have gotten it to him. But, by the time he was done running his route, Terry's coming around on the shallow cross. Ertz is in that same area. It was just too many bodies, right? It felt like it was just so congested. And space has been one of our strengths this season. I think we have to get back to creating space. And I think we did that against Pittsburgh. There's a ton of space on the football field. We just missed and guys dropped passes. Even when we were chipping and getting out, we created a ton of space. Guys in both flats, Ertz sitting over the middle of the field, Terry running this route, OZ or somebody else, Noah Brown running this route. And it was a ton of space. We got to get back to space. I think that's what's going to help us be successful. It felt like everything was congested against Philadelphia, and we got to get back to creating space. And so some of the way you do that is you got to be able to take shots down the field. We didn't take any shots against Philadelphia. They had a 2-high shell pretty much the entire night. So it's hard to take a deep shot against that, but you get an opportunity. You got to back them up. They were playing too aggressively and too close to the line of scrimmage because we didn't threaten them. And so in order to back teams off, you got to take a shot. You got to hit them where it hurts. You got to get chunk plays. So I think that's going to help with the third down efficiency. I think our first and second down offense has been fine. Normally when you look at third down efficiency and it's not where you want it to be, the direct correlation is what are you doing on first and second down? Our first and second down offense has been just fine. Just fine. It's been the third down execution that's been the issue for us here of late. And I think we got to get back to the basics. And some of that too, right? If you recall early in the season, if JD5 didn't like what he saw, what did he do? He tucked it and he ran on third down. We would be in 3rd and 12, 3rd and 9, and he'd run for 11. He'd run for 12 on 3rd and 11. He'd run for, 15 on 3rd and 6. That has to enter back into the equation too. He's been hesitant to run and take off. Either you're going to run or you're going to use your legs to suck up the defense, and then somebody's wide open and then you get it to them. But he's got to make smarter decisions in that realm. And if he's going to be a runner, be decisive and take off and go. Because it ain't too many dudes on the field that can catch you if you just take off and be decisive. That play where Dean caught him, Nakobe Dean caught him. If he just takes off, there ain't no way in hell Nakobe Dean can catch him. But he's hop-stepping and he's hesitating. And if you're going to do all that, well, there's Eckler open. There's Zach Ertz open. Pick one of them if you're going to do all of that extra shit. But if you're going to run, if you're going to take off. He can't catch you. So I think decisiveness will help as well. There's a lot of things that go into the lack of execution on third downs. We got to be more effective running the football in these situations. We should be able to run on 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, and get the first down. The Eagles was just destroying us. Too many pulling plays where you're leaving Jalen Carter unblocked. Like, just put somebody dick in the dirt. Let's move forward, right? I want to see more of those, that dual backfield with Austin Eckler and B-Rob too. That shit was super effective against Philadelphia. They had no answers for that. Waves, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, can't wait to see what the defense looks like with Marchese from the Big Easy. Calling it now, 3 passing TDs for JD5. #hail, #destroy Dallas. Well, don't get your hopes up this week because I don't think you're going to see Marchese from the Big Easy this week. But I hope I'm wrong. I've been wrong in the past about, guys playing. I'm more right than I'm wrong. I always tell y'all that. I'm not right all the time, but I'm more right than I'm wrong. And I'm telling y'all, I'm not seeing it this week. But tomorrow will be a big day. If he practices, even if it's a limited basis, and they feel good about what he was able to do, there's a chance. I don't think he's going to play this week. And I've said this already. If he doesn't play this week, what's the point of playing him next week? Right. But I get why you would play him if he's healthy. Put him out there. But my whole thing is if he can get healthier and just rest through the bye week, why wouldn't you just do that and let him have his first game back be against the New Orleans Saints? So we'll see. But 3 touchdowns sounds good to me by JD5. I'd love for him to account for 4 or 5 of them. 3 in the air, 2 on the ground. Like, hell, 3 passing touchdowns. You hand it off to B-Rob once or twice for touchdowns. Eck gets 1, B-Rob gets 1, whatever. I'm all for it, right? I'm all for it. Waves, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Writes, I'm 2-2 at North Dub, looking to make it 3-2. Well, yeah, I'm looking to add 1 to the left-hand column. And this year we are 4-1 at home. Suffered our first defeat against the Steelers. Should have won that game. And so we're looking for some get back at the crib. And couldn't think of a better opponent to try to get it against in the Dallas Cowboys. So you know what to do. If you're going to be there, if you're pulling up, you know what to do. Get it done. Christopher McLaughlin, my guy. C-Mac, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy Chris writes, hey, Lou, question. Do you see the Eagles or Falcons games each getting flexed to Sunday night or 4 o'clock window? Prediction, winner of Eagles-Commanders game on December 22nd, 2024 wins the NFC East and the 2 seed. Thoughts? I agree. Because ultimately, now, so here's the thing. I don't know about if the Eagles are in that position, they could be the 2 seed. Here's the issue with no. You're right, because whomever wins this division is going to be the 2 seed. There could, theoretically speaking, be a team in the NFC North that finishes with a better record than the winner of any of the other divisions, including this one, and still end up being the 5th seed because you're behind Detroit. Like, I'm talking about Minnesota. Minnesota's 8-2. Let's say the only other game they lose this season is to Detroit, right? And they finish the season 14-3. I don't see that happening, but let's just, for the sake of this discussion, say that they finish the season 14-3, and the only other loss that they have this season is against Detroit. If they don't win the division, they're still the 5th seed, even though they're 14-3, which would be nuts. Which would be nuts, right? If, let's say the winner of this division is 12-5, and they go 14-3 and they don't get a home playoff game, that's nuts, right? But that's just the way shit goes, right? Win your division. That's the comeback to that, is win your division. But yes, you're absolutely right. The winner of the December 22nd game, 3 days before Christmas, is going to be the 2 seed in the NFC. I firmly believe that. Absolutely. That team's going to win the division, and that team's going to be the number 2 seed, because no one in the South winner and the West winner aren't going to win more games than the winner of this division. So yes, you are spot on there. As far as the Falcons or the Eagles game, I expect both of them. So remember, the Falcons game is already in limbo, right? Because it's set up to where it could either be a Saturday game or a Sunday game. There's no way that the Falcons aren't fighting for their playoff lives at the end of the season unless both the Bucs and the Saints just fade to black down the stretch, because the Falcons themselves are struggling. So that game's going to mean something for them. Obviously it's going to mean something for us. Unless we lose to Philadelphia, there's no way we can win the division. We're locked into a wild card already. Then maybe there's not as much at stake for us at that point, right? But assuming that we're fighting for the division still, assuming that they're fighting for their division, that's going to be moved to Saturday, I believe. That's a Saturday game. So that's not going to be flexed in the normal way. Like, if you look at the schedule, that game doesn't actually have a date right now. It's either one day or the other day, right? Saturday or Sunday. That game's going to Saturday. There's no doubt in my mind. That's a Saturday game. The Eagles game is getting flexed. Now, the question is it 4 o'clock? Is it 4:25? Or is it 8:20 Sunday Night Football? That's the only question for me. And again, we have to take care of business. The Eagles are going to take care of business. Okay? We got to take care of business to make that game mean something. If we don't, then I don't know if that game gets flexed. But right now, as it stands, in the way that I feel, that game's getting flexed without question. Isaac L., thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Isaac, thank you for the super chat. Lang Hughes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Lang Hughes writes, Rush is god-awful. Houston should have had 4 picks easy. Yeah, Rush stinks. And that's why I don't really care who's back, who's not back, as long as we don't give up easy shit, right? Which is why I'm saying, don't blitz. Don't give him any easy reads, any easy throws, right? Make him read the field, make him see what he's seeing, and try to confuse him. And just, I like our rush right now. Like, we're rushing as a unit. And this is the other thing. We've played so many mobile quarterbacks this season. Like, it got to the point now where we were like, all right, another mobile quarterback, another one, like, and another one, and another one. Like, it turned into DJ Khaled at one point, right? Whether it's Daniel Jones, whether it's Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, obviously Jalen Hurts, obviously Russell Wilson can still move and extend. Like, we played so many mobile quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield, that it got to the point Caleb was killing us with his movement skills. That even though I felt like we were rushing really well, we weren't getting at home as much because we have Cooper Rush ain't going nowhere. This is the first time in a bunch of weeks where I'm like, yo, we got to sit and duck back there. If we keep rushing the way we've been rushing, we finna hit home 5 or 6 times in this game. Hopefully we can strip him. He can fumble 2 or 3 times like he's been doing. He's been fumbling every week 2 or 3 times. Well, I need to get on the fun. Yeah, Cooper Rush stinks. So I'm just trying to do the right thing. And the right thing is to rush 4 against a broken offensive line. Hopefully a lot of those dudes that are on that injury report don't play. And we get a bunch of backups and just kick their ass rushing 4. Drop 7 and let's have some fun. Let's go to work. Ethan Dykes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, who do you think wins versus Indiana versus Ohio State game? Indiana is having the greatest season in program history. They've never won 10 games in a season. They've already, eclipsed that. Ohio State is, I think they're vulnerable, but I think Indiana still is Indiana when it's all said and done. And what I mean by that is they still aren't one of the big 3 in the conference. The big 3 in the conference is Ohio State, Michigan, and Penn State. And when they played Michigan, even though Michigan stinks, they barely won. I think it was 20-15, if I'm not mistaken. So, I still don't know if they're ready for that level of athleticism and talent that Ohio State is going to be able to put on the field. Can they beat them? Yes. Will they beat them? I don't think so. I'm going to take Ohio State, but I would love to see Indiana upset them and win that game. Ethan Dykes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy, writes, our use of 21 personnel feels unique. Love it, HTTC. It's been extraordinary. I've talked about the use of that dual backfield with B-Rob and Eck. That 21 package, sometimes it's 22 package, 22 personnel, where they put 2 tight ends, 2 backs on the field, but normally it's 2 running backs, one tight end, which is the 21 you're referring to. And that shit is awesome. And the way they line them up, like you said, it's unique. We see them both on one on each side of JD5. We've seen one behind the other, right? We've seen Eck line up tight behind the offensive line, sort of like he's hiding, right? He fakes it to B-Rob. Eck sneaks into the flats. He throws it to him. They send one in motion, then he comes back across the field and back in sort of jet motion behind the quarterback. And then you can fake it to him. You can throw it to him in the flat, so you can just hand it off. It's a lot of activity. You got one running back at the snap of the ball when they're on the opposite sides of him. He fakes it to one, then hands it to the other. Or, one guy goes, shooting to the left side, and then you hand it off to B-Rob, who goes to the right. You got all this action going to the left with Eck. And so the defense reacts to that, and then the ball's going to the right. You are so spot on when you talk about the uniqueness of our 21 personnel package. It's so much fun to watch. Cliff is in his bag, in his element when you see the 21 personnel. That is something I want to see more of because I haven't seen anyone stop it yet. I haven't seen anybody successfully stop it yet. Don Battery, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Don writes, Lou, respect. Likewise, Don. DQ asks players about their superpower. What if 17s is the contested catches that amaze us? Should there be a level of insisting to Terry? I talked about this. I don't care if he's covered as long as it's not dangerous. If it's you can have a safety watching Terry over the top, but that ball doesn't need to get to the safety. If Terry's running a skinny post and the corner's right there and he's running towards the safety, but the safety's still 7 yards away, you can squeeze that football in there is what I'm saying. Or if that's too dangerous, because again, if it pops off his chest cavity or the corner is able to stick his hand in there and it pops in the air, then it's probably going to get picked off. You don't want to do that. I get that. But if it's outbreaking route away from the coverage, it's sticky, but it's Terry, what are we talking about? Right? I trust Terry. Just give 17 a chance. That's all I've ever advocated for. It's I don't want to hear that he's covered unless there's 2 dudes checking him and there's no way to fit it in there. Okay, I get that. But if you're telling me that it's one-on-one and this guy's playing zone coverage, he's off, right? But he's covering Terry, or he's playing man and it's sticky. If it's Terry, I don't give a damn. Because who's better in the league at catching contested catches than Terry McLaurin? Nobody right now. He's got the most contested catches in the NFL this season at 17. The next closest is at 15. So if I'm Jayden Daniels, if you tell me that I've got two options. One is Noah Brown might be open. Terry is covered. I'm not trusting Noah Brown might be open. I'm going to Terry. Now, if you tell me Noah Brown is uncovered or Noah Brown is open, okay, throw the ball to him. He's the open receiver. That's what we want. We want easy access. But if there's a chance that this could be incomplete, if Terry's catch probability is 10% and Noah Brown's is 30%, give me Terry's 10, because his 10 is more like 40. Noah's 30 is Noah's 30. Okay? So that's all I'm saying, man. Just give him an opportunity. And hopefully, and look, I think that we're going to see Terry get fed against the Cowboys. I believe that. I'll be shocked if Terry doesn't have 5 or more catches in this game. Now, I can't tell you what the yardage will be for. I'll be shocked if he doesn't come away with 5 or more catches in this game. Shocked. Because I think there will be an emphasis, and we got to get 17 involved, and we got to get him involved early. I'll add this to it. I will be shocked if he doesn't get one on the first possession. I think there's a slant with his name on it on the first possession. I do. So we'll see. I think you're going to see a concerted effort to get Terry involved early. They understand the importance of getting 17 involved early in this game. RPO game, I think, is going to be alive and well on Sunday, right? Especially if you establish the run early. That RPO game, I think, has a chance to be deadly, like it was against the Steelers. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of that, but I digress. In any event, that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News Live. I'm so glad you guys were able to join me. Now, I'm going to pivot, and I'm going straight over to the NFC East Super Friends. Hopefully, you can join me over there. If not, we'll be back tomorrow for the Commanders Nightly News. We'll go behind enemy lines, talk about the Cowboys, where they are statistically, where we can take advantage of them. We'll talk about our numbers, which are continuing to plummet on the offensive side. On the defensive side, I think the numbers are getting better. Maybe not the rush defense numbers, even though the rush defense was better up until the fourth quarter. So we'll take a look at all of those things and more tomorrow. The injury report will be big for both teams tomorrow, so we'll take a look at that. And we haven't heard from the coordinators in 2 weeks now, right? Last time we heard from them was prior to the Steelers game. We didn't hear from them last week. So I'm looking forward to hearing from both of the coordinators, especially Cliff Kingsbury, because of how the offense is, I won't say struggled. I think that's a bit harsh and a bit extra, but it hasn't been as sharp. And I want to see, and I would love to hear someone ask him about the, lack of opportunities for Terry McLaurin and see what he says about that. Generally, they stay away from those types of questions. I'd like to see somebody ask him, hey, do you feel the need to get Terry more involved and see what he says? But I can't wait to hear from both coordinators tomorrow as well. I'm looking forward to that. So we'll have a ton to talk about then. But in any event, that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News. I really appreciate you. Big shout out to all 360 of you who are still out there holding the kid down. Hit that like button on the way out if you haven't already done so. And hopefully I'll see you over on the NFC East Super Friends stream. It'll just be me and the fellas. So it will be doing our 3-man weave tonight. I mean, really, are the Cowboys even necessary right now? I mean, I think the Giants are a little bit more interesting than the Cowboys are at this current juncture because of the Daniel Jones news. So looking forward to kind of picking Bad Dog's brain on that. And then obviously we're going to have to deal with a lot of Eagles fans talking shit. I'm ready. I already know what it is. And I'm willing to accept my fate. It is what it is. And so We just got to take care of what we can take care of and control what we can control. And the next thing we can control is this upcoming weekend against the Dallas Cowboys. So I'll see you guys next time. Until then, take care. God bless. Good night.